Alright, in this video clip we're going to discuss adding comments or events to the strip chart prior to you printing it out. And also we're going to discuss you can modify the heading and footer of your strip chart. By default, the strip chart will create a heading based on the customer, the whale, and the ticket number. But you can change that if you wish. You can click in that area, the heading area, and it will open up where you can modify or completely add a different heading. To modify, you can hit init, which will load the current heading, and then you can modify it. Or if we clear it, then we can say new heading and hit accept. And when we close it, we are going to have a new heading on the strip chart that when you print it out, this will show up. The same thing applies to the footer. If you click on the footer, it will come up. We can initialize it, edit it if you wish, or we can clear it and do new footer and accept. And now we have a new footer. But we're going to be adding in some comment lines, which are called timelines. And I'm going to maximize the screen so you can see this a little easier. So I'm going to go to the settings on the strip chart and hit maximize size. Now, what I did was I generated some sharp data points just so there would be part points where you would add comments. Now, to add a comment, you can hit show. The first thing you can do is a couple different ways of doing it. But one is you can add a zoom line at this particular point. And then if you want to, you can blow that zoom line up and really get it exactly in the point where you want. Take it back down. And then we are going to open up show strip chart functions. And one of these functions is to turn that zoom line into a timestamp line. And there is a button right here. It says zoom line to timestamp. And we're going to click that. When it does, you'll notice that the zoom line went away, and now we have a line there. And that is a timestamp. Now, what I'd recommend you do as you are progressing down through your job, you see points you might want to highlight, you can always do a zoom line and turn it into a timestamp right as those events happen. Or you can wait till after the job's over with and create a whole bunch of timestamps at points that you're interested in. So we've just created 3 timestamps at points of interest in our chart. Now, if we normalize this or whatever, and hit the charts, and you went through your normal routine, and after the job, if you printed this off, where you normally maximize the chart, then the chart would look like that when you printed it off with these zoom lines on here. But normally you're not just interested in the time, you're interested in what happened then. And to make this timeline into a note line or to our comment, we're going to go back into show charts, chart functions, and we're going to go pick one of the zoom lines. So we're going to see this zoom line right here. We want to pick that. And to pick that, you hit select timeline. I call it a zoom line. There's a timeline. And you go down and find a little black box and click on it. And if you get it clicked, it will turn red. You now have that timeline selected. And if you want to turn that into a comment, it already is a comment. The comment happens to be timed. If you want that to read something else, now that we have a timeline selected, you can hit edit label. And you can initialize that label and pressure test. happened right then. Now, you don't have to leave that time on there. You can remove that time by just going up in here and just typing in pressure test only. But if we want to leave the time on there, we can. Oops, when I edited it, it removed the timeline, so I need to edit the label back. And we're going to go pressure test. So this is our pressure test. Now, if you don't like the pressure test up in this area, because it does get into the labels, you can move this label. And we are still selected, so we can hit Move Label, and it tells you you are in Edit Moving, is being moved. And wherever you click at is where the label is going to go to. But in this particular case, we want it on this point, so we're going to go right there, which pretty much lines up right on the label. Just trying something there, it didn't work out. So there it is. There is the pressure test. Now, then you can exit moving the label. You can take that, and it has exited the timestamp, so we need to select the timestamp again by making it red. And if you want to, you can rotate that label. You can turn it sideways if you wish. You can edit the color by toggling the color. We'll change it through a sequence of different colors. You just have to, I think it's like 10 colors. You just have to edit it, keep pressing it till you get it color that you happy with, just by clicking on it. So we're back to pressure test. We'll make it red, which is the second color. Now you can also edit the label size. Let's say 12. That happens to be the size of the current edit. So if we make it 15, it changed the size, in which case you might have to go back to move label and move it up a little higher possibly. And edit, exit moving label. So you can easily edit the label, you can move the label, you can change where it's located, you can change font size, and then that's it. But let's just say that we put a timestamp on here that, we're not really interested in it. We weren't sure at the time, and now we know we're not interested in it. So we're going to unselect the stamp and select this stamp. We don't want the stamp. So we're going to hit Select Stamp, and then we're going to come down here and pick it. Let's hit Select Stamp again one more time and get it selected. Now it's selected. And if we don't want that, we can remove timestamp, and the timestamp will be removed. If we want to put a timestamp back in there, we can drop in a zoom line, convert it into a timestamp again. So we can easily add in timestamps which have notes on them, and we can sit there and do various things with that timestamp. But let's unselect this. Do you know a timestamp is selected when it has a red leader line on it? Now, one of the things you can do, we can, if we hit out of this thing, and it's to say that temporarily the customer doesn't want to see those events, you can go to the chart, and then you can just hide timestamps, and the timestamps will be hidden. So you can turn the timestamps on or off at your will before you print the strip chart. We'll go back to it, and we are going to show the timestamps once more. And we can edit this timestamp by selecting timestamp, picking the box for the stamp we're interested in. Hit it again. It's being a little stubborn. There it is in red. Well, I'm going to move the label down to right. This one makes more sense to be on the bottom side. And we will edit the text to saying event 2. Except we will deselect it by clicking on it. And it's back to being black. And we will edit this one too. So it's hit select timestamp. It's in red. Let's move the label to right there. And let's make it larger. Let's make it even larger. And then we can edit the label. And there we have it. We've got 3 events on it that once we go back to normal size, we can hide the chart functions, and then we can print those off, and you now have events on your chart. Now, one of the things you can do is you can hide these leader lines by show timestamp leader lines or not show timestamp leader lines. And now the leader lines for each one of these timestamps has been removed, and you get strictly an event point. Please note that you can also remove individually each one. If you want to just hide one timestamp leader line, you can go in there and select it and then hit toggle the leader line hidden, and it will hide the leader line for that timestamp. So we're going to hide the chart functions. We're going to go back up to maximize, which is the way it would look if we decided to print this off. And now we've got an event in these places that you can add in the text, you can size the text, you can rotate the text, you can rotate the text, and you can remove it if you want to. So that is how you can add comments and events to a strip chart. See you next time.